What's going on, motorsports fans? This is Jared here with the bearded garagistas. Always with me is my brother Brett.
How you doing?
And thank you for joining in. Like, subscribe. Like, subscribe, follow us everywhere, and comment, talk to us. We really want to talk to you guys and hear what you have to say. If you think we're full of shit, let us know. You never know.
We usually are.
Usually are. Real quick, right off the top, does anybody imagine the NASCAR refueling pit stop when they're feeding their baby at the 4 a.m? That's what just spin it in your hand, boop, pop it in the hole. No? Maybe just me. All right.
My feeding process is a little different than yours for my baby. I got to put in a damn feeding pump, okay?
Oh, that's rough. Yeah. All right. So let's go over a couple of things. This is going to be a quick hitter show. Hopefully not too long. Just want to give you some news, some things that have come out over the last couple of weeks in the off season. I really had a question, and this could be a misunderstanding of how the ARCA Menard series works, but from my understanding, there's an East Division and a West Division with a decider at the end. And I think that's a hell of a way to go. If that's the way it works, I think it saves smaller teams money with travel. You could have more teams competing in the more teams competing that have to put less money in because they don't have to travel as far. They can build money with wins and regionals and everything like that for the final few races, and then the Super Bowl would maybe be like a 2 or 3, 4 race championship, like AFC versus NFC
teams.
With those top teams.
So what kind of racing series do you envision having this? Like, would this work with? Like, that wouldn't work with Formula One.
I don't think it would work with like a worldwide thing like Formula One, but
maybe IndyCar.
I think IndyCar. I think we would see a couple of more teams in IndyCar. I think NASCAR, especially in the high rank of NASCAR. Could you imagine being able to have more money, more teams vying for positions? You have more racers up there. You know, you're building the sport. Just because you have the one top rank, right, and everybody strives to get there, there's not as many feeder series. There is for NASCAR, but there's not as many feeder series. You have like Indy Lights, Formula 2, Formula 3. But my thing is, like, if you were able to have, instead of as more feeder series, would you rather have more professional racers, right, that are getting paid to race like that? A little less money has to go into the organization for travel, so it can go to the drivers and sustain the engineers and the development, and then they can use that win money that they get and sponsor money that they get and build it over time to go and race, a 4-race championship at the end. Is that something that could possibly be?
I like that idea, but it definitely builds off of the mindset of how Americans develop sports. So, like, if you look at soccer or football worldwide, they don't have playoffs like we do. Like, it's a very American thing to have playoffs. Now, I love playoffs. It creates huge excitement, win or go home. Like, I love that. But it definitely is an American thing to do. Now, what popped in my head as you were talking, and I was just telling him before we started recording that this was mostly going to be him, and I probably wouldn't have too much to say. However, while he was saying, that rundown, what popped in my head would be really cool is, like, there's, for instance, Formula 3 and Formula 4 around the world. Now, if you took the winners from Formula 3 Asia, Formula 3, UK,
because they only race a few races Europe, in those.
Right. Now, then you take the winners from those and have like a 10, 15 car grid.
Ooh.
Right? That's cool.
That's pretty cool. That's a good idea. I like that. Moving on. Aston Martin exits WEC. They've been a pivotal part of WEC for a while since WEC started. They've been winners, multiple winners. They make very competitive cars. They have moved away. Now, they said they will support customer teams and that their main focus is to continue to support customer teams, but they will not have a works program. And I think that this has to do with Stroll and Formula One. I think Big Daddy Stroll, Big Buck Stroll comes in. He wants to go to Formula One. He wants to keep his son racing. And I think that to do that, he has to pull money from somewhere, and I think it comes from the WEC program. Unfortunate for our endurance racing fans. Endurance racing is fun, and I love it. Actually, endurance racing is growing in my genres of motorsports likability. I think it's almost up there with above Formula One at this point. Really exciting to watch. It is really exciting to watch. If you go there live, it's really exciting. There's always something going on. There's always some action, and it's endurance racing is phenomenal. I feel like go ahead.
Endurance racing is great live. I feel like it doesn't translate so well to TV audience because it's so long to have to sit in front of the TV that long.
You don't.
But see, you don't. I can't miss a thing.
No, well, I watch the 6-hour races. I can have it playing in the background on a weekend where I'm doing some work around the house or something like that. But going there, the atmosphere of going live is something completely that I've never seen. Like, people will go out there with campers and set up scaffolding to watch these races as high as they can get. It's a phenomenal thing. Sebring was, if you've never been to Sebring for the 12-hour, you need to go. I won't miss it again. I took off for it this year, and I will do my best to get me. Actually, I got to buy. That reminds me, I got to buy my ticket. But Sebring was phenomenal, and live it is great. Yes, you're right. However, being able to put it on, listen, watch some racing, walk away, get some stuff done, maybe put it on the background while you're working, catch the highlights, things like that. It's great, and it's just chaos all around, and it's great to watch. But I feel like Aston Martin pulling out of WEC, definitely has something to do with putting more money into Formula One. My question is to Papa Stroll is, when your son doesn't compete anymore, can't compete anymore, doesn't want to compete anymore, isn't good enough to compete anymore, and you finally make that decision to pull him, everything that he's shaken up now, what happens to that? Right? He's killed Racing Point. Right, Racing Point's gone. Now he bought into Aston Martin, and he's changing it into Aston Martin.
I don't think anybody at Racing Point or the Force India team before that, the Silverstone team, is upset about them.
I don't think that. But my thing is, he's making a lot of waves. Is my point in his path to staying in Formula One and keeping his son in Formula One. When his son is done, and all said and done, does he walk away? Does he take his money and go elsewhere?
It depends. If it's
So then what's the repercussion is my
if
point.
His consortium is making money, he's staying in Formula One, whether his son's there or not. His son may have been the catalyst that got him into the sport, but if it's a worthwhile investment, he's staying there. Now, is Stroll the reason Aston Martin pulled out of WEC? It could be. However, we're also looking at a year where different manufacturers across a plethora of racing series pulled out and either went elsewhere or just stopped altogether. It's not just Aston Martin at WEC. I mean, Corvette is changed, Porsche has changed, Audi has changed, BMW has changed, Peugeot's going to Le Mans. Like, I'm just talking about, there have been so many changes, and most of it related to COVID, that you can't put Aston Martin's move solely on Stroll. It might be just that, but it could also be a COVID related thing. I mean, they also dominated this year.
Exactly.
And do they think that they could come back and do it again? Well, the competition is not really going to be as strong.
No.
So is it worth it?
Yeah, you make sense.
I don't know.
We'll go on and say that some of these Formula One top 10 drivers lists that I've seen online are redonkulous. Now, don't get me wrong. I pushed it by pushing Hamilton to number 3 in our last episode, but you got to be kidding me, guys. Like, I've been seeing some names up on that list that are just rough, and some names that aren't even on the list that are rough. So
I don't understand how on the drivers ranking Grosjean made it to 8. That has to be because it was done after the accident.
There you go. That's one of the things I'm talking about. Having somebody like Grosjean at number 8. He's not in the top 10. I don't care what you want to say about it.
He's great. He's
Good
fast.
Guy. Lovely guy. Wonderful guy.
Right. Not top 8.
No. What do we say to the Say No to Mazepin movement? If you don't know what's going on, we talked. I think we talked about it in another episode. If you might be living under a rock and don't know what's going on with Mazepin, I'm not going to go over the situation that he got himself into trouble, but he got himself into trouble. And there are some people out there, large community online, that are saying this whole unity thing and we race as one and all this, let's come together to stop injustices, and then we go ahead and this is their saying, and we go ahead and let somebody like Mazepin pretty much just flaunt some money and get out of some trouble and continue to race in the sport where they feel like he should lose his seat. What do you think about that? What do we think about that?
I have 2 points. My first, and I don't even know how I feel about it, but my first is, should one incident ruin a person's career? I think it depends on the incident. Okay, this might just be that kind of incident that should have. I don't know. It's not my job to decide that. The reason why I'm not wasting my time coming to that conclusion is my second point. If you don't know by now, money talks. Mazepin's father is a billionaire. Haas needs money. End of story.
All right, makes sense. I'll say that, you look at the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, Formula One racing in general was sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And whether he was right or wrong, obviously we all say he was wrong in what he did. That was, blatantly obvious. If you showed that to somebody who, was into racing 30 years ago, probably wouldn't have any problems with that. I actually had a friend of mine show me some things that went down at Sebring not too long ago that were pretty crazy. That, don't get me wrong, they put a quick, fast, and a hurry stop to that. But I'll tell you after the show because it's not something I can say on the show. Well, my thing is the culture of racing back then, and you got to understand that those people are still embedded in racing. Right, a lot of those people that were in the heyday of the 70s and 80s where it was craziness going on the grid and them smoking a cigarette, jumping in the car, jumping out, going to the hotel and partying it up. A lot of those guys are now, the older heads, and they're still running the show. And I think, money talks. Now, does it fit with the unity and the we race as one? Hell no, it doesn't. And the new changes and the new things that are going on in the world right now, he probably should lose his seat. But does one thing? Yes, I understand. It depends on the situation. This is a touchy subject, and I think that a lot of people are doing it because they want to stand by the whole unity thing. But we'll see how money does talk, and I guess that's the way I was always raised.
Like I was just saying, I didn't put too much thought into it because it's not my decision. We don't know all the politics and money that's going on behind the scenes. However, if all that was irrelevant and it was up to me, then it comes down to one of two things. And neither of these are what Haas is doing. Haas is keeping it behind closed doors. I think that if it was up to me, it either would be a very public repercussion, penalization, something that shows to the public, the masses, that what he did was wrong, or 2, he loses his seat this year. If I were in charge and politics and money weren't the factor that they are, but they are. And we don't know what's going on behind those closed doors because Haas and the FIA, with the FIA backing, right? The FIA gave them full permission to close those doors and keep them shut and keep it hush-hush.
I assume it was probably some kind of donation of money to some kind of program, and then also a bigger donation in the check. Be like, listen, if this is what we have to deal with over here at Haas by having your son on the program, we need a couple more zeros.
Yeah, but I mean, look at what NASCAR has in place for people that are insensitive to minorities. Like, you got to go through a program. I'm not saying that's the answer or even,
but it's something.
It's good, but it's something. It's something public. It's something to show to the public. Look, we're doing something. We're not just letting them slide.
Yeah.
And then Kyle Larson went out and did even more stuff on his own without telling media. Like, that shows something. I'm not saying he should be back in NASCAR yet. I don't know how I feel about that. But he at least, like, even without the media attention, went out and did stuff. NASCAR did, with media attention, have repercussions against him. Closing doors upsets me.
I hear you. All right. We will quickly say rest in peace to Mario Andretti's twin brother. He passed away. At the end of the year last year. 2020 was tough. At the end of the year, it just started taking people left and right. So rest in peace to them, prayers to the family. Sir Lewis Hamilton, he gets knighted
About time.
About time. Deserves it. Should have probably got it 2 championships ago. I don't understand why you needed 7 to get it. And I've been very critical of Lewis Hamilton always, constantly, but he's done a lot inside and outside of the sport.
Yep.
And you know what? I'm hard on the guy because he's a world champion and he's that type of person. But you know what? Phenomenal guy and definitely deserves that.
Long overdue.
Long overdue. I also will say in that same point, which is kind of funny that we put it right here, did he do enough last year to deserve the number 1 spot on almost everyone's power rankings worldwide, or did he slip to number 2? Yeah, he slipped to number 3 on mine, but that's just because I'm a little crazy. But you know, I haven't seen him a number 2 yet, and I think that Max Verstappen, you know, deserves to definitely be in the argument here. We'll also go over the fact that
comment.
Let us know what you think, please. Shoot us a DM, comment. You know, let us know. Helmut Marko, we'll say that Helmut Marko states 100% that the Perez signing was not only based on Perez's skill and Perez's, you know, prominence behind the wheel and the money that he brings, but also the fact that he knows the Mercedes engine. And we'll see what that brings. I mean, Helmut Marko is known for just saying pretty much what's on his mind. And the fact that he kind of blatantly came out and was like, hey, listen, the fact that we signed Mercedes partly because he knows the Mercedes engine, I think that's something he should have kept to himself. Everyone kind of knew it, but I don't think you have to say that. Does that make sense?
It is, but I mean, that's something that happens in sports all the time. I mean, look, you have coaches and players in American sports all the time get dumped and they end up in the same division, right? How many players go back and forth between the Dolphins, the Jets, and the Patriots? Right, it's not because of their skill; it's because of their knowledge of the playbook.
Right.
Okay. So same thing here. I totally get it. However, that said, Racing Point could not have had a better option. Like,
that's true.
Hulk, yeah, but Hulk's been out and doesn't have the consistency and ability to get to the podium like Perez. Yeah. The only other decision was sticking with Albon and giving him more time, which is what both he and Gasly deserved, was more time to develop.
And then another one, John Paul Jr. If you don't know who that is, go ahead and look him up. Really big into the controversies in the past. When we talked with Ken Bear, he was part of that whole crew that was doing the underhanded stuff in racing. However, he's also a phenomenal driver. He passed away after a neurological fight. Phenomenal driver, IndyCar driver, 24-hour Daytona champion, 12-hour Sebring champion, I believe. He was, you know, sports car and IndyCar, you know, household name, unbelievable talent. You know, rest in peace to him and prayers to his family. And then lastly, the only last thing we have, and again, this was a quick episode, the Formula E driver, ex-Formula E driver, Loic Duval, states that drivers are pretty much forced to say that they enjoy the racing in Formula E because they're getting paid. They're collecting a paycheck. He said that there's the lack of downforce, the lack of speed. You know, it's not as exciting racing those cars as it is racing something, even though the fields are a little more spread out everywhere else, but that the speed, the downforce, the G-forces are what makes driving fun.
So that's a bold statement. However, it's not so surprising. But did you hear what Helmut Marko said about Formula E, which I think was even better than that statement?
No.
So I just heard this yesterday. Helmut Marko came out and said that Formula E is not racing. It's not a motorsports series.
Oh, shit.
Because it's too...
Tell us how you feel, Marko.
It's too slow. The cars are too slow. The tracks are too small. Right, et cetera, et cetera.
I'll agree the tracks are too small. I think there should be more space.
And then I'm paraphrasing here, but basically calling it a farce because he said in the center of it all, charging these batteries is a massive diesel engine.
That makes sense.
So he's sitting there going, what electric racing series, your batteries are powered by this massive diesel engine?
You know what's funny? I had this
charging all the batteries.
I had this thought the other day. Explain to me why Teslas don't have, you know, wind turbines? You know, they convert wind into energy.
Yeah.
When you're driving a car, there is wind going around the car, right? So explain to me why there isn't like these little fans inside the car, in the aero of the car, that collects the wind, spins the fan, regenerates energy, and pumps it back into the battery.
I don't know, man, but I'm pretty sure that people that have gone to engineering school
probably already thought of that.
Right. And we sitting here not having gone for engineering
Listen, just
degrees.
because I'm in a garage, a lot of good things started in a fucking garage. So don't even start with me, all right? But that's all we got for you today. Follow our Instagram, our Twitter, our Facebook for these news updates. These are these topics that we talked about in this quick hitter news update episode are things that I've been posting and we've been posting on our social media platforms. Again, on those things, you can comment, let us know what you think. We've had a couple of our fans and a couple of our listeners go ahead and talk to us about what they think. And you guys come up with a couple of great ideas, and we've actually input them into the shows. And, you know, if you come up with a topic that you want to listen to us talk about, if you come up with something that, you know, is a great idea, we'll throw it in there, and we'll tell people where to find you on Instagram and social media, you know, to give that kickback, because we really enjoy just the whole community of motorsports. So go ahead and follow us, like us, subscribe to us. Let's keep pushing this forward. If you haven't got your tickets to Sebring, I believe they already went on sale. It comes up in March. The Roar before Daytona is coming up. Some updates about that. They do have the infield open, I believe, but I don't think they're letting people into the pits the last time I heard. And the 24, the Rolex 24 is coming up faster than we see. So congratulations out there to Tyler on getting that new 70-200 lens. I know you're going to be using that, the Rolex 24, and we will see you guys soon. Peace.